Let's just double click on what you said there, which was, you do the 2 push-ups and you say, BJ, like, great job, like, so awesome. I think that is also counterintuitive. And you talk about this in the book where you say, like, change happens when we feel good. And I think it's interesting because so many, at least so many clients and community members that I've spoken to, they often start habits when they feel, they've hit rock bottom, let's say, or they feel bad about themselves, or they feel like they have to, publicly announce and almost ridicule themselves in order to elicit the change that they're looking for. So can you talk a little bit about why change happens when we feel good and how that wires in? Maybe we can talk about some neurotransmitters in there as well, potentially, but why that wires in the habit.
So what I've done in my work since 2007, and it was probably before that, 2007 is when the Fogg behavior model was published and shipped. There it is. There's one model that describes all behavior. Within the world of behavior, you have things you do one-time actions, like sign up for a service or buy something or make a commitment or promise. And then there's a different type of behavior that are habits, things we do quite automatically. The way you design for one-time actions is different than how you design for habits. Now, to do a one-time action, you can use guilt, you can use shame on yourself or other people, and you can get yourself to do stuff. You can use willpower, like my students do, to do an all-nighter to write a paper, okay? So that's like a push that they're tapping into motivation, or a type of motivation that I call willpower, which we can get into what willpower is if you want, but that's not the best way to create habits, okay? So what people often confuse is like, I'm really good at using guilt or shame or beating myself up to get myself to do, I bought this product, I bought this program, I bought a workout machine. Notice those are all one-time actions. And yes, you can use those negative ways to get yourself or others to do those one-time actions. But those negative ways do not work very well to get ourselves to create habits and transform our identity around those habits. So that's why that phrase, you change best by feeling good, not by feeling bad. The type of change I'm talking about there is lasting change, long-term change, as well as changing your identity. So then it becomes consistent with your identity. This is how I move, or this is how I manage my stress, or this is how I eat. It's just how I am, and then that just becomes ingrained in you. So too often, though, people have been led to believe, and people have had temporary success with using guilt and shame, beating yourself up to do it. So you feel some success at the beginning, but as you know, and as people have seen, that peters out. And it just leaves you feeling like you're a failure. And it leaves you blaming yourself. And in many ways, that's what the Tiny Habits book is all about. In fact, I think I said in the first page, I'm here to tell you that if you've tried to change and you couldn't, it's not your fault. It's not a character flaw. It's that you weren't given the best way to change your habits and change your life. Welcome to Tiny Habits. This is how you do it. And you do it by feeling good, not by feeling bad.
I think that also has sort of far-reaching applications for things like parenting. At least I have found that negative consequences, certainly for, as you were saying, like for a one-time thing, it's like you've colored all over the walls, maybe, or the child has colored all over the walls, let's say. Understanding that there's going to be a negative consequence for that, but for lasting, some of the positive, continuous, I'm sort of thinking in my brain goes to sort of language and syntax, where like, when you think about the English language, you can say I run or I am running, right? So one is like a one-time action, I run or I am running, which is the continuous present. So it's almost kind of what you're talking about, where it's like you do one thing one time, or there's a continuous repetition of the behavior. And in, I guess in behavioral psychology, and certainly you would be able to comment on this with far more meticulous intelligence than I, but it's almost the difference. I talk about this with my coaching clients, with the difference between outcome goals and behavioral goals. Like we have one sort of North Star. I want to lose 20 pounds. But it's the behaviors, it's the continuous present, right? For my syntax and my language geeks, it's the behaviors that we do every single day that feed into the outcome goal that you've designed for yourself.
Love it. And let me build on that. I think that's exactly right. When it comes to what you're calling outcome goals, and I use a similar term, pick something huge and exciting and big. Yes, that's where you're like, what do I want? What am I shooting for here? But then for the actual behaviors or habits to get you there, then be realistic and practical and break it down to the right habits and behaviors and set the bar really low. So there's a difference between where you want to get the result of habits and behaviors and how you and what you should be doing to make those habits part of your life and do them consistently. So the tiny habits method is not about lame or underwhelming outcomes and goals. It's about massive ones, but that's how you get there, is by creating reliable habits that become part of your life, that shift your identity. And maybe we'll get into this later, but what happens is this. So I'll just use a quick example of, maybe unhealthy snacking. So maybe you've created a habit of resisting an unhealthy snack at work during the lunch break. Bam, I did that. And you feel successful about it. As you do that and feel successful, you're going to start thinking to yourself, I'm the kind of person who can resist unhealthy snacks, right? And so even though you haven't designed for the cocktail party you're going to, the plane flight you're going to be on, the preschool holiday event, once you think of yourself as, I'm the kind of person who can resist unhealthy snacks, that workplace afternoon habit you created has shifted your identity, and it has this generalized effect into other domains that you hadn't even thought about or encountered, right? Because it's only you're behaving consistently with how you see yourself. And I started teaching the Tiny Habits method in 2011. I didn't understand the impact on identity till about 2013. I started measuring it in 2014 in the 5-day program and assessing identity shift. And it happens, and it can happen quickly. And it comes from feeling successful about making a change. And here's the huge surprise, and that I just love. The change of the habit does not have to be very big. All it has to be is you feel successful around it, okay? So it's not like you have to transform everything and say, I'm the kind of person who resists healthy snacks. Just one instance in one situation, lunchtime, they put candy out, you're good at saying no to that then shifts how you think about yourself. So it's almost like a loophole in human psychology. You can change your identity by feeling successful in creating a habit. And that habit doesn't have to be very big. It comes down to the feeling that you have. That's what shifts how you think about yourself.